So at some point there's a trip to India after Jagged Little Pill.
Yes.
Why and how did that come about?
I had reached and grabbed the brass ring of fame and the pinnacle of what the North American dream was all about, the Western dream of, fame, wealth, and accolades. And it was very disillusioning for me because I thought, well, now that I've arrived here, I still have this humanity in me. I still have these wounds, and I still have this, self-doubt or self-sabotage or self-hatred even. I thought that would take care of all of that, but it didn't. And then the fame part was really traumatizing in a way and really disconnective. So when I went to India, I just was in this amazing context where every street corner was like an altar and everybody was super present, very soulful, very spiritual, not afraid of eye contact. And I thought, well, in some ways I felt like I had been there before, that it was my home in a way.
Thank you, India. Thank you, terror. Thank you,
So that allowed me to recharge my batteries and have stillness for the first time in a really long time, and silence, heaven forbid. And then I could write a song called Thank You. I find that when I have rest and rejuvenation time, the first feeling or a sense that emerges is gratitude. I can't be grateful when I'm depleted and exhausted and not setting enough boundaries. I'm just not so fun to be around.
I've heard you mention, this might have been an older interview, but you just talked about the idea of grieving the loss of your pre-fame life. And I think that's very normal. I think anybody who has success fast or any kind of big success, that's something that they go through. But my question to you is this something you ever really get over?
I do now because I turned that frown upside down. And, and I really had to make it work for me because there was a period of time where I just didn't want to be here anymore. It wasn't fun being here at all. And then I thought, well, what if I used fame for my agenda? My agenda became, once I could sense from people that my songs were helping them and supporting them on their journey, taking them from B to C or R to S, I thought, wow, I can actually take advantage of being in the public eye and make it work for me and my agenda. So that was probably in the late 90s, and as soon as I could see that there was a method to this madness, I made great peace with it.
Breathe and gentle, is that what you have tattooed on your arms?
Yeah.
Let me see. Can I see, or you can use your arm? It's okay, we can take your word for it if you just.
Yeah, no, there it is. It's in my little tiger.
Oh, it's in the tiger. Is that tiger new? How new is it?
A few years.
So gentle is there, and breathe is on the other arm. Why?
Well, the gentle on its own was recovering from love addiction is a fierce, fierce withdrawal.
Love addiction.
Ooh, it's not fun. So doing a lot of that work, I realized that this had to stop if I was really going to serve in the way that I wanted to serve and frankly model and live the example of what I wanted to offer other people. I couldn't be the hypocrite who was, annihilating myself behind the scenes and extolling the virtues of self-care in the public eye. So gentle was great, but it wasn't enough because part of my healing also was to learn how to protect myself, and not allow myself to be taken advantage of and etc. So the tiger, the protectress, and that's my Chinese animal symbol, so there's a lot of, tipping of the hat to the Asian way as well. And then breathe is really, really straight up. I hold my breath all the time because I'm stressed out a lot.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, my shallow, shallow breath is a clear indication that I'm not being fully present.
Is the tattoo working?
No. I need to look at it more. I need to have it tattooed on the inside of my eyelids, apparently.
You see everything, you see every part.
Though she tasted success many times over the years, with 5 top 10 albums and 7 Grammys under her belt, Alanis still felt trapped by the music industry that once supported her.
Being signed to a contract in the days of old was really like getting married and someone saying, you're married to me, I can punch you and you cannot divorce me. I don't know of any relationships that benefit from not being able to look at each other and go, is this really benefiting both of us? Are we both happy in this?
After 14 years bound to one record contract, Alanis decided to end her relationship with her label and found freedom as an independent artist.
And not to sound overly arrogant, but I assume it's going to be played. Where they're played, that just gets exciting, whether it's played on the radio or at a street corner or on the internet. I don't know.
when Alanis Morissette in 60 continues.
Much Dance, the #1 compilation is back, featuring Demi Lovato, Pink, Justin Bieber, One Direction, Flo Rida, Maroon 5, and many more. Much Dance 2013, available now on iTunes.
With Swiffer dusters, a great clean doesn't have to take long.
I'm done. I rock.
Unlike sprays and dust rags, Swiffer Dusters Extender can reach hard-to-clean spaces in less time. Swiffer, great clean in less time or your money back.
Let me ask you this. Being someone who is so famous, there's this very abnormal thing, especially with you because you're so candid with your writings, that people want to ask you about the things you're writing about. So oftentimes, and I've seen it happen in interviews, people ask you about your personal things, your personal relationships. How has talking about them, sometimes, probably most times not wanting to, how has talking about those things helped your growth, or has it, as a person?
Well, the great thing about being put on the hot seat, especially publicly and having to think on your feet, is that it's an amazing tool for self-definition. And I think self-knowledge is the same as becoming enlightened, you know, not to get too heavy-handed about this. But the more we know ourselves, the more we can live this authentic life and live what we were born to do. So when someone asks me what I think in the face of some social experience or some social event, it's a self-defining process. So I actually feel blessed when people ask me questions that I have to really go within and inquire and see how I really do feel about that. I think transparency is next to godliness. It really levels the playing field, and it allows us to get rid of this shame about our humanness. You know, heaven forbid I'm human. So the more transparent I am, the more empowered I feel about the fact that I'm not presenting some self that is half a human being. I mean, of course I still am. I want to be socially graceful and I want to be considerate. At the same time, I think it's irresponsible and dangerous to present some perfectionistic self to people, because it's not really what we're up to here.
I've heard you talk about, you know, transitions in your life. We've listened to it in your music, but I've heard you speak about it. I've heard you speak about the beginning and the endings of relationships. The one I'm interested in talking to you about is the end of the relationship with Maverick Records. Because Jagged Little Pill came out on Maverick Records. Every album after that came out on Maverick Records, except this new one. That's a big deal, right?
Yeah, the emancipation.
It is, though. I mean, that is a big deal.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what the most exciting thing about it is for me is that the old paradigm was win-lose. 80% record company, 20% artists. Artists couldn't do the sacred complaining about it because they just looked like ingrates. But it's the dictatorial, hierarchical, in the negative sense of that term, win-lose paradigm, old school. You know, new school is 50-50, partnership, win-win or no deal, you know, conscionable contracts. It's like being signed to a contract in the days of old was really like getting married and someone saying, you're married to me, I can punch you and you cannot divorce me. You know, so there was an abuse dynamic inherent.
So when you signed the first deal with Maverick, was it for a certain amount of albums, or were you renewing? Was this like, finally I'm out and I'm done, or did you renew through the years?
I probably erased it out of my memory how many records how many records were part of the contract, but they were, you know, it was many years, over a decade. And I don't know of any relationships that benefit from not being able to look at each other and go, is this really benefiting both of us? Are we both happy in this?
Right. And being freed from that kind of constraint now, has it helped your writing?
It's helped my self-esteem is what it's done. You know, I mean, if you imagine being trapped.
Yeah.
And you know, I wasn't trapped. I'm still free in that sense. You're free no matter where you are, in theory.
Right.
But I wasn't free to do certain things that I really wanted to do, and it was 80-20.
Right.
You know, so if it was 50-50, high
Was
fives.
it 80-20 the whole time?
Yes.
God.
And they would take me out to lunch and say, why don't you want to hang out with us and go to hockey games with us? And I would say, really? Really? Does 80-20 mean anything to you? And there was just a denial about it, I think. Whereas today, the contracts are partnerships. So everybody's way happier. I think artists are much happier now if you talk to them.
I've heard you talk about a book for a couple years.
A couple of years. I've been talking about it since 1999.
Is that true?
You're very kind.
What's going on? What's going on with this book you just started talking about? Is it done? Is it 900 pages?
It is. It's 800 pages, actually.
Come on.
It's so many pages right now. I have so much content, and I think that's part of the paralysis around it. It was the begged question of where do you begin? The luxury of records is that it's a snapshot of every few years, and I'd like to have that be the way that books are for me, that whatever I care about at that moment, I pontificate about.
So what is in this book?
Women's stuff, health stuff, spiritual practice, lyrics, music.
Not the story of your
photos.
life.
No, I mean I'm using my own life as a case study
Right.
because it's my favorite and frankly the only way I could really do it. I don't have 1,000 clients that come to my office,
Right.
So my own life will be the case study, and there'll be some humor in there, but it'll be volume 1 of many volumes.
You've also used acting as part of your expression, and you've done some very cool things. I mean, Dogma, Weeds, Curb Your Enthusiasm, just to name a few. I mean, these are very cool things.
Yeah.
Is this something you actively pursue, or people kind of come to you?
It's a bit of both, but like attracts like. So if you're
Right.
intelligent and a little twisted, you all find each other eventually.
Right.
Hello.
Are you going to
Yeah.
pursue it? Acting, continue to pursue it?
Yeah, I think it's it's number 6 or 7 on my list of
Gotcha.
priority art forms. But I do love it. I'm such a generator of art, so hard for me to step away from that for too many months. I get depressed.
I'll be your keeper for life as your guardian.
She's toured the globe and sold over 60 million albums worldwide. Why this pop icon stepped away from the glitz of the music industry to record her latest album.
I created a studio in my living room so that I could be on call for breastfeeding and momming and wifing, and
Wifing.
if he ever needed me, everyone knew in the house that number 1 priority was my son.
From motherhood to stardom and everything in between, how Alanis has poured everything she's learned into her music.
A long time ago, a woman wrote a lyric that went like, I recommend...
Yeah, or anywhere you'd like to, just be prepared to get arrested.
When Alanis Morissette in 60 concludes.
Much has teamed up with The Source to give one lucky viewer and 4 friends the chance to watch the big jingle from their very own private Monster Incredible Lounge. Decked out with this season's finest swag. All you have to do is enter online. It's that simple. Go to muchmusic.com/IWantThat.
What's more beautiful than a CoverGirl? 2 CoverGirls. Get 2 miracles in 1 product. New Tone Rehab 2-in-1 Foundation. Covers spots, lines, and wrinkles. And helps give you more radiant skin over time. New Tone Rehab from Easy. Breezy, beautiful CoverGirl.
It's been a busy 4 years for Alanis Morissette. After the release of her 7th album, Flavors of Entanglement, Alanis married fellow musician Mario Soul I Treadway in a private ceremony at their home in Los Angeles in May 2010. Later that same year, the couple welcomed their first child, Ever Morissette Treadway, on December 25th.
I'll be your keeper for life.